Hey, good evening, folks, family, patients. Hope you guys are having a great and blessed Monday. Welcome to our week 3 of the Masterclass Immunity Cancer Awareness. It's going to be a lot of fun today. Actually, just got done with a very full office behind me. And so we had a couple technical difficulties, but we're up and rolling, ready to go right now. Leading into this, I asked a 17-year-old girl who's been battling leukemia here for quite a while this year. And she's a stud, man. I tell you what, when I grow up, I want to be just like her. And I asked her today, I said, listen, I'm going to probably have at least a couple thousand people that watch this video tonight. If you could tell anybody what your key or what your secret is for kicking cancer's butt, what would it be? And she said to me, she goes, just keeping focused on Jesus and keep a positive attitude and keep focused on the healing that I have ahead of me. And it was just one of those moments where I'm just like, such wisdom from a 17-year-old. Amazing. So just so you guys know too, we have a patient appreciation day coming up next Monday. So if you're a patient in the office, if you have somebody that you've been trying to talk to about chiropractic, somebody that you care deeply about, you want to see if we can help them out, we have exactly 10 spots. 10 spots for next Monday. We got 5 in the morning, 5 in the afternoon. And so if you want them to get the spot, typically the exam, consultation, x-rays, if they're necessary, can be anywhere between $60 and a couple $100. There is no charge for your friends and family members. I just ask you though, if you're really serious about wanting to get somebody checked up and they live here locally, Charlotte, this is a great opportunity for them on November 2nd. We have 5 spots in the morning, 5 spots in the afternoon. That's it. So if you're interested in one of those spots, just text our phone number 704-540-0055 and just text the word friend, and we'll text you back and we'll set them up for the appointment times. Possibly we might even just fill them all tonight. So should be a lot of fun. Like I said, first 10 people, there's going to be exactly 0 charge for that exam, consultation, the x-rays. If they're necessary, we're going to take great care of them. So let's get into the class. This is the team. Just so you guys know, that's me on the left. If you guys can't tell, I'm always surrounded by girls. That's my wife, Dr. Joelle, right next to me, Michaela in the middle, Nani and Keisha. And so they are here. They're behind the scenes. They'll be answering questions for you along the way. If you have friends or family members that you want to get checked up, text them and they'll get them set up along the way. If you need resources, if you need help with anything with your care whatsoever, our whole goal in this masterclass is to make sure that the people that make it through it, remember we had 50 people here at that first week's class. My whole goal is to end this thing with 150 people that are constantly just getting engaged with understanding of the teachings that we're teaching here, so you can make sure that you're a master at understanding where health and healing really come from. So use these ladies along the way. They will help you with anything that you possibly might need. Our purpose here is helping people find their calling and their passion, their God-given potential, breaking change and changing family trees. Big part of this whole thing for me and why we started this. And the reason why I really feel like God's put me here on this planet is I just want people to be able to understand and realize what their purpose is here for. I got a saying that I say in our doctor's report in our office, that my job, if you're here just to get out of a little bit of aches and pains, as some chiropractors do, you're in the wrong place, because my job's not just to get you out a little bit of aches and pains so you can die with less pain. My job is to make sure that you can express and do exactly what God's called you to do for the rest of your life. We see people, once they get adjusted, once they get their life and their health on track, we see people completely change and transform, and things are different for them. Their marriage is better, their relationships are better, their family relationships are better, their work relationships are better, they're more focused, they have more energy, they have less aches, less pains. That's our whole goal for you guys as you guys come through the office. Our job is to help you guys get and do the things that God's called you to do here on this planet. And that's what I believe that God's put me here for. So a little recap from last week. If you weren't able to watch it, just let us know. Put something in the comments here. The ladies can always send you a link for last week for what the virus class was all about. The one thing I will ask you to do, if you watch the virus class and you're here now live, or even if you're watching this recorded after the fact, I want you guys to write in the comments, what's the one thing that you learned from the virus class last week? Okay, so just anything, one thing that you learned last week, I want you to write it in the comment sections down below. Also, I want you to write in the comment section is if you shared this video or shared some information with somebody, whether it was somebody at work, maybe you shared with people last week that viruses are not alive. That was one of the first things that we learned on the class last week, is that viruses are not alive. They're not a living thing. And people think that they're bugs that jump on people. And so that's one of the things that we learned. So I want you guys to write those things down. Put a comment in there of one of the things that you learned last week, one of your takeaways, what it was last week, but also who did you share that with? A little recap from last week. Like I said, viruses are not deadly. Even a COVID virus, even a novel virus, I don't care how the medical world, the politicians, whatever created this whole COVID thing and the scare, this thing is, the viruses do not kill people, okay? What happens is they aren't alive in the first place, but what they do is that when they come into the body, viruses, we have, and if you guys watched last week, there's 10 to the 31st power, okay, amount of viruses in the soil, in the air, in the oceans, which means that if you added up all the stars in the world, in the universe, and multiplied it by 10 million, you wouldn't even still have the numbers. I don't even know how they figure that stuff out. But that's how it was described to me. So I want you guys to kind of just realize as well that biggest thing that you have to understand is that what viruses are there for is God made them here for a purpose. In fact, for our bodies to update and learn and change and adapt with its environment, we need to have viruses for that. And so what happens is the viruses come in, and what they do is they don't cause sickness or disease, but what viruses do is they expose that if the body is toxic, and they expose if you're in an environment that's toxic as well. And so if you look at the three of the places that were hit the hardest, Wuhan province, which is one of the sickest, most chemically ridden area of the whole wide world, Italy, Spain, and the United States, especially in the cities. So if you think about that, no wonder we have responses in these areas, and why it's not in the rural areas. It really comes down to the people that are being affected by this are the people that actually have sickness or disease or toxicities in the first place. That's what it really comes down to. And I'm going to tell you guys this, is that cancer, and what you're going to learn about cancer this week is going to be very, very, very similar to that as well. And so it's going to be a lot about the host and less about the disease and more about the host from the inside. That's the key behind what we're going to dive into today. So what is cancer? Great question. It's really it's a term for disease in which abnormal cells divide without control and can invade nearby tissues. What cancers do is that there's healthy cells, there's cancer cells. Healthy cells will divide and die, and cancer cells will divide and not die. And I'm going to go deeper into that in a little bit. So essentially, cancer cells are a sick cell that won't die or can't die because it's been invaded or had a problem or something changed within the cell itself. And so just to kind of help you guys understand a little bit about my history or my experience with cancer, and I know if I asked everybody in here, just put a yes in the comments column if you've been affected by cancer, either yourself or somebody you love and know had cancer that's close to you. Put a yes in the comments column right now. And what you're going to probably see is pretty much everybody has had some kind of exposure to cancer. Well, you really start to learn or care or concern more about cancer when it's somebody that's like really close to you and somebody that you really love. And gosh, I was trying to do the math earlier. I think it was 8 or 9 years ago, my best friend was diagnosed with 4 brain tumors in his head and multiple myeloma that had spread throughout his whole body. The guy's name is Charles Majors. He wrote a book called Cancer Killers. And it was devastating. We knew something was wrong. We didn't know what. We found out that he had 4 brain tumors. Before you know it, they were trying to take it out. Before you know it, they said he's got weeks to live, like 3 weeks left to live. We're going to push him next door. He was at Northwestern Hospital in Chicago. And they said, we're going to pull him next door and we're going to start doing chemo and radiation on him. And we're like, okay, but what's the plan? How are you going to get him to where he needs to get to? And what's fascinating is that they had no answer for it. They said, we just need to get him next door, and we just need to start getting him pumped with the medications and get him on the pathway of the chemo and the radiation, all that stuff, what they call cut, poison, and burn. And so we didn't like that answer. And so really, when we start to understand what cancer is, it's abnormal cells that divide that won't die off. And cancer is the body, and this is going to fascinate, or this is going to kind of infuriate some of you guys. It's a little bit different than what you think, but you got to understand something is what if, and I'm going to ask it this way, what if cancer is the exact right thing that the body's supposed to do? And that was the thing that we learned with Chuck, is that he had these 4 brain tumors in his head, and they went to do chemoradiation. But one of the things that he found through our travels through Reno, Nevada, it was a place that we went. We also went to Spain, to Dr. Hilo in Spain. He went to several other places, specialists. He read everything. He did consults with everybody. And the thing that he learned the most is that the cause is the cure. And he said, he would say this on a very regular basis, is that they will never find the cure for cancer. And the reason why they'll never find the cure for cancer is because they're trying to treat symptoms. See, treating cancer cells is treating a symptom. That when you treat symptoms, again, they're never gonna. They look at it. They can't even find a cure for the common cold. I was watching a video of him the other day. He says they can't even find the cure for the common cold. Like they're gonna find it for the flu. Like they're gonna find it for COVID. Like they're gonna find it for cancer. They're not gonna find it because you can't find a cure for something that you actually are trying to treat the symptoms. You can't treat the symptoms and think that you're going to find the cure. And so one of the things that he coined, the terms that he coined in his book, is he says the cause is the cure. Whatever caused the cancer is the cure. Whatever caused the flu to rip through your body and cause sickness and disease, that's the cure. Whatever caused the coronavirus to come invade your body, expose toxicities and chemicals and your other comorbidities, right? Comorbidities, you keep hearing that, comorbidities, and everybody's like, oh, but this is different. No, it's not. 94% plus that have died of COVID or infected with COVID have comorbidities. And so you've got to start to understand is that it's because the body was already sick. It's not that you don't, and this is what Chuck would say, you don't get cancer, then get sick. You've been sick for years and then you get cancer. You don't get sick. You don't get COVID, then get sick. Your body's been sick and then COVID happens to you. It's the same exact thing. And we're going to go through this in depth. And I know, listen, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. If that infuriates you, I know it's hot topics, mask, no mask, COVID, no COVID, all this kind of stuff. But when you look at the responsibility, personal responsibility, I don't care what the government's saying. I don't care what the politicians are saying. I honestly really do not care what CNN or Fox News, I don't care what anybody's saying. The reality is that this is exposing COVID and cancer and heart disease and diabetes, is exposing how unhealthy we are as a nation, how horrible we are at taking care of the body. It's exposing that our medical care system sucks. It's exposing things that we're able to see, but yet we're still hiding behind, we don't have a cure, or the president did it wrong, or HCQ, or this drug, this, all this stuff. Again, all these things, right, are happening because we were already sick and have a bad healthcare system in the first place. Some of the statistics with cancer, I don't know if you guys know this, cancer is prevalent in the United States. It's prevalent in kids. It's happening all the time. Every 30 seconds, one person's diagnosed with cancer. It includes 43 kids every single day in the United States. Every 3 minutes, a parent hears your child has cancer. 1 out of 2 men, 1 out of 3 women will be expected to get cancer. And the new stat that I'm hearing these days is that not if you get cancer, it's how many cancers will you get before the time that you die. 1.7 million people every single year in the United States are diagnosed, and 610,000 people die every single year. I don't know if you guys know this though, but in other countries, right? Mediterranean countries, they have a lower incidence. Lower chances in Scandinavian countries, lower chances than the United States and the United Kingdom than we do here in the United States. $1.16 trillion estimated yearly on the economic impact of cancer. Around 1/3 of deaths in cancer are due to the 5 leading behavior and dietary risks, like high body mass, high BMI, low fruit and vegetable intake, lack of physical activity, tobacco use, and alcohol use. So you've got to start to understand, and it's not for lack of putting money at this thing. They raise $6 billion every single year for the pink stuff that they're putting out here in October. And they've put so many billions of dollars at this thing, even since Nixon was in office. And Nixon even said in office that he would find the cure for cancer, and they pledged billions of dollars to this. I think actually back then it was $1 billion, which was a lot of money back then. But the reality is that where are they looking for the cure for cancer? They're looking at how to treat the symptoms. They're not looking at how can we get to the cause of the problem, which is what we really need to start looking for. So the physiology of cancer cells and epigenetics. So there's hundreds of trillions of cells inside your body right now. We all have cancer in our body right now. We have cancer cells. And the difference between somebody getting cancer and not getting cancer is whose body's able to find the cancer cells, or the cells from the inside are able to die off. And the thing is that constantly we're turning on and off these genes. And the cells, when the cancer cells are dividing, there's a thing called apoptosis. Apoptosis is a natural genetic code inside the body that tells the cell to die. Your healthy cells go through a cycle and they die. Cancer cells, they don't go through apoptosis. They don't die. And when a sick cell doesn't die, what ends up happening is that the cells start dividing, and I'll talk more about that later. See, cancer is a response to the body. The physiology of a cancer cell is it's an actual natural response to the body. Just like if I turn this video screen here, I don't want to do it right now because I don't want to mess everything up. But if I turn this plant sitting here, if I turn it away from the sun, it's gonna within a day, it's gonna turn its leaves back towards the sun. Well, why in the heck does it do that? Because it has this innate responsibility on the inside that it wants to survive. Like it wants to live. Living things want to live. They want to survive. They have this inborn intelligence that tells it this is how you adapt and this is how you live. Inside of our bodies have cancer right now, or cancer cells proliferate because it's the right response. The body's actually trying to protect itself when cancer is a response. Cancer doesn't make you sick, like I said before. You've been sick for years. It's your environment. It's your environment. It's your environment. I'm going to talk a little bit more about epigenetics here in a little bit. See, what happens is that cancer cells becomes undetectable, and you don't even know it's there. In fact, 2 cancer cells it goes from 1 cancer cell to 2 cancer cells in 90 days. Then within a year, it's at 16 cells. And then in 2 years, it's 256, and so on and so forth. You can see all the way down to 8 years, it's finally doubled 32 times. Cancer cells are normally detectable by a mammogram, and mammograms are, I didn't put a slide in here about that. Mammograms are not a great way to detect if you have cancer. They're expensive. They're high dose radiation. In fact, they should be against the law for them to be able to use these things, but they spent so much money on the development of these things. They're constantly using this. They have too many false positives, too many false negatives, but they still keep using it because it's one of the ways that they can do it. There's other ways that you can do it. But after 40 doublings, approximately 10 years, that's finally when cancer is considered lethal. Now, how this works, though, is you guys have heard me talk about this, is that when you're getting sick, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, even neck pain, back pain, don't show up until it's really late in the process. And so it doesn't show up at the time that you get the first cancer cell. It doesn't show up when you get the 5,000th cancer cell. It doesn't even show up when you get 1 million cancer cells. Typically, cancer shows up and when it's really, really late. In fact, out of 100 people developing cancer, majority of them don't find out until it's in the stages of cancer and it's fully been there for a long time. So we can't find it and can't base cancer on, and don't say that I'm not going to get it. And so why I'm showing you guys this is not to scare you. Well, yeah, kind of to scare you. I'm showing you this because I want you guys to realize and understand is that you can't wait until you get a diagnosis of cancer before you start doing something about it. That's why you want to start doing something about it way before that. Do not wait to change the environment. Change the environment now. And so the difference between a healthy cell and a cancer cell, a healthy cell there on the left, a healthy cell loves oxygen. It loves oxygen. It loves exercise. It loves healthy foods. A healthy cell loves these things. And so it's breathable cell. The cell wall's breathable. The amount of fatty acid intake is great. The cell is super healthy, and it starts to replicate as normal cell growth and no problems, no issues. Now, a cancer cells love glucose, love sugar. Cancer cells thrive on sugar. In fact, cancer cells cannot survive in an oxygenated environment. And so what you can do is that once a cell gets unhealthy, if you're eating lots of bad fats, it will damage the cell walls. It'll damage I'll get more in the cell walls here in a little bit. So eating bad fats, damaging the cell membrane, oxygen can't get in, toxins inside the cell, your body, just as your body has toxins and you eliminate it through urine and defecation and all this kind of stuff, your body's trying to get rid of the waste material. Cells try to get rid of this as well too. But cells that are unhealthy, if you have unhealthy cell walls, I'll get into the cell walls here in a little bit. If you have unhealthy cell walls, then now all of a sudden the cells can't get rid of the toxins and the cells start to auto-intoxicate themselves, okay? Which means they start to become toxic from the inside. Cancer, again, what I say before, what if cancer is an adaptation to an unsuccessful immune response? What if cancer's supposed to be there? That's my question. What if cancer's actually really supposed to be there? And I know you're gonna sit here saying, come on, Dr. Mark, there's no way cancer can be good. Cancer's not good, okay? But what if it's the best choice for your body to try to slow down growth of bad cells? And that's what cancer is. And so I want you guys to hear that again. Cancer is a normal response of the body. It's not a great response, but it's the best that it possibly can do. So if you and I go out and maybe if you're up north, you're shoveling your driveway right now, Mom, maybe you're shoveling your driveway, or Michaela's family up in Minnesota, right? Maybe you're shoveling driveways up there, or maybe you're raking leaves down here in the South. Okay, if we go out and rake in the yard or shovel, what's going to end up happening to this part of my pad of my hands? We're going to get these things called calluses. Now, of course, women don't like those because it makes their hands look manly and all that kind of stuff. But maybe some of you women like it. I don't know. But if you get these calluses here, what ends up happening is that calluses, is it desirable to have those calluses? Not really. But what are the calluses there for? It's a natural adaptation to my hands trying to protect itself because it wants to survive, it wants to heal, it wants to do what it's supposed to do. And cancer is exactly the same thing. It's responding, it's adapting to the toxicities and the level of unhealthiness that you already had inside your body. Remember, you don't get cancer, then get sick. You were sick already. That's why cancer's there. Cancer's the response. It's a proper adaptation. Adaptation. This really is all about adaptation. How well is your body able to adapt along the way? Time Magazine, why your DNA is not your destiny. People say, if you have doctors, and I'm going to take a drink right now. I've been talking for the last 3.5 hours. If you have a doctor that constantly keeps telling you, oh, you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol because your parents had it. You're going to have cancer because your parents have it. You're going to have diabetes because your parents had it. If you have doctors that are telling you this, ask them to reframe that or fire them. Because if people are telling you that you're destined for it, then you need to fire the doctors and get new doctors right away. The last thing you need is somebody else telling you from the outside that you have problems inside you and that you can't do anything about it. Here's an example. A patient that came in, they said, I've got high blood pressure, and the high blood pressure is there because it's genetic. You know what he did? He did nothing. You know why? Because he felt helpless, hopeless. He thought there was nothing he could do about it. So he didn't exercise. He didn't eat healthy foods. He didn't take the supplements. He still got adjusted, thank God. But you got to understand is that when somebody says you have a genetic issue and there's nothing you can do about it, you're in trouble. And so you need to fire those people and get people in your life that say that you can do this. Now, here's a great study, and it's not on here right now, but I'm going to talk about this guy. Look up the name, and Michaela will type it in here anyway. The guy's name's Bruce Lipton. Bruce Lipton, B-R-U-C-E, Lipton, L-I-P-T-O-N, Bruce Lipton. And he wrote a book called Biology of Belief. I've read it probably about 10 times. Amazing. Anytime Bruce Lipton speaks, I listen. The guy was brilliant. He was shunned. He was kicked out of the medical world. He was kicked out of teaching colleges. And the reason was because he went against what modern medicine says. Modern medicine wants you to believe that the virus is strong, your DNA sucks, you're weak, and you can do nothing about it. So all you do is you take their stupid meds and you get sicker and sicker and you never do anything. You never take personal responsibility to start to take care of yourself the way that you should. And that's what I want to teach you guys today is that you can take personal responsibility. Is there a chance because family had it, you can have it? Yes, but it's more because you have the same habits and the same environment they had, not so much because of the DNA on the inside. Bruce Lipton's studies actually prove this. And what he did is he said, listen, genes can be turned on and off. And what can happen is they actually took the nuclei out of a cell And they wanted to see what would happen to the cell, because for lots of years, for the last 40, 50 years, they've always said, scientists have said, the nucleus, the DNA, which the DNA is actually in the nucleus, in the nuclei, the DNA is the master system of telling the cell if it's going to be healthy or if it's going to be sick. Even right now, they're saying that cancer is genetic stuff, okay? So, but here's what Bruce Lipton did, is he took the actual nuclei out of a cell, and he wanted to see what would happen to the cells as they took the nuclei out of the cell. When they took the nuclei out of the cell, what happened is if it was a healthy cell, it kept dividing and kept working, kept doing the things that it was designed to do without any kind of genetic coding or anything in it. It was able to divide and do what it was supposed to do. What he found, though, is that if he takes the nuclei out of a cell, but the environment in which the cell was in was already sick, meaning that he said that what's more important than anything else is the cell membrane. The cell membrane lets good stuff in and lets bad stuff out. And if the cell membrane is unhealthy, that's when you've got an issue. And they actually did a study on cancer cells, and they took a cancer cell and they pulled the nuclei out of a cancer cell. Now, according to today's research and everything that they do right now in our world when it comes down to cancer treatments, they say that basically when they took the cell out of there, genetically taking that out, that cell should die. Now, what happened is that cell did keep dividing as cancer cells. But if they take that cancer nuclei out and put it into a healthy cell, what it should do is it should make that healthy cell into a cancer cell. And what they found through research is that it doesn't. It's all dependent on its environment. How healthy are the cells? It's everything. The key to the health of your body and the key to the health of your body and your life and your cells is all about the environment that you have. Overcoming fear, I already touched on this. I'm not going to touch much more on this. I talked about what if cancer is the right response. And I'm telling you guys, you need to start to take personal responsibility. If you're a patient in my office, thank God you get adjusted. That is awesome. If you're a guest and you're watching this, you don't go see a chiropractor, you have to go find a chiropractor. If you want us to help you, text us. We'll help you find. If you're watching this years later, I don't care. Text us, call us, whatever it is. Michaela will put our number, our email, our contact, whatever. You could direct message us, however you found this. Haunt us, find us. We'll find you a chiropractor where you live. And I'll try to find you somebody that does what we do. We try to put max living doctors all over the country. And eventually we're going to get there. But right now we're pretty sparse throughout the whole thing. But there's a lot of max living doctors out everywhere, 300 to 400 doctors everywhere that are related to max living that we can get you some help. But here's what I want you guys to hear is that thank God you're getting adjusted. If you're not, start getting adjusted. But you need to take personal responsibility over your health. Stop blaming it on somebody else. Stop blaming it on genetics. Stop blaming it on my environment. Stop blaming it on your work. Stop blaming it on your finances. There's ways through this thing, and we're going to show you guys how it works. It's not a lottery. It's not genetics. There are reasons. There are reasons if you get sick. If you get sick with COVID, there's reasons. I shouldn't have to say it, and I'm sure I'm going to get bad comments in here. But I shouldn't have to say this. I really care and love people, even the people that got sick with COVID, even the people that died. I shouldn't have to say this, but I wanted to let you guys know it's not a mistake. It's not by chance that these people died. I know I'm going to get somebody in here say, oh, but my cousin knows a cousin that knows a cousin that knows somebody that they had no problems and they died of COVID. Okay, but here's what I want you guys to know is that there's usually, almost always, 100% of the time, some kind of underlying factors of why the body was weak and why COVID, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, there's a reason why they're there. There's always a reason they're there. Now, you can play the victim and you can just say, you know what? It's never going to happen to me until it happens to you. You can play the victim and say, you know what? I don't know why it happened to me. I don't understand. Or you can start to take responsibility. And this is what I'm challenging you guys with this classes. I want you to start to take responsibility. Do not wait until cancer, heart disease, diabetes. Do not wait until these things get there. Start taking care of yourself right now. Understand that you were built for so much more. There is nothing for you to be afraid of. There is nothing for you to be afraid of. God designed you and designed you perfectly. He didn't forget to put a mask on you. He didn't forget to put a vaccination in you. He didn't forget to do those things. He built you the way that you're supposed to be built so you can live to be 80 to 120 years old. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed in the last 7 months. You know what's changed? The media has changed. The politics have changed. The scare taxes have changed. The amount of money exchange that's happening with Amazon and the pharmaceuticals and the hospitals and all these things, that's what's changed. And they're loving seeing this go down the pathway because money is changing at a high rate here. And I want to let you guys just know you do not have to be afraid that you can overcome these things and we can overcome your fear. If you need help with that, man, get into scripture, get into truth, read things that are true about how the body's built. That's how you overcome these things. And when you start to understand, and maybe it's turning off your Instagram and your Facebook and everything else. Maybe that's what it really is for you guys right now. So what I want you guys to see here is this is our philosophy of cancer according to the 5 essentials. And so what I want you guys to do from left to right, I don't know if I've ever taught you guys this, but I'm gonna teach you guys this right now. These icons here that look like, if you got kids, looks like a PlayStation, little icons and everything like that. These are the 5 essentials of what I'm going to teach you guys for the rest of today. And the next 3 classes are actually going to be on these 5 essentials as well. But the one on the left there that kind of looks like 2 spines in there, that's the spine. That's the nerve system. That's chiropractic. That's what the one on the left for. The next one to it kind of looks like a leaf, the green one. That's for nutrition. The one that's a triangle kind of looks like a brain or a mind or looks up. That's the mind. The one that's an O, that's for oxygen or exercise. And the last one is the X, and the X is for toxicity, things that are bad that should not be going in your body. That's what these symbols actually stand for. So the first one I want to talk about today is mindset. So now that you know that cancer is a natural adaptation, now we need to talk about how do we adapt the environment to make it less conducive to be able to have cancer, or if you have cancer already, how to overcome it, right? So there's some of you guys that are out there that are listening that are like, how do I overcome cancer that I have? Because I get a lot of people come to me that say, I'm stage 4 cancer. I don't want to go chemo radiation. What can you do for me? I'm like, let's clean the body. Let's make sure that we remove the interference. Let's let the body start healing, go down the pathway. So obviously the best way to do it is get there before cancer ever got there in the first place. So mindset is you've got to watch what's going on in your head. My statement that I say all the time is that every day is a battle for your mind. My team, my staff, my family, my patients, you guys probably hear this out of me too much. My chiropractors that I coach and teach all over the country, this is what I teach them. Every day is a battle for your mind. And you can tell your mind what it's going to think, or you can let the world tell you how you should think and how you should act. It's completely and totally up to you, but every day is a battle for your mind. I had a pastor say this to me at one point in time. He said, it's kind of like back in the day before Spotify, I guess it's like Spotify or music. They used to have this thing in grocery stores. You know how you go to grocery stores, they always have that really cheesy music along the way. And it's these tracks that they play. And so it's kind of like you have that track in your head, whatever plays over and over again. If you say, I'm scared, I'm weak, my body's sick, I'm in trouble. If I get touched with COVID, I'm dead. If you say those things, it's not going to work out well for you. If you're like, I'm going to isolate myself, I'm going to put gloves on, I'm going to put masks on, I'm going to let nobody in my life, it's not going to work out well for you. Okay. Mindset is everything. And so you have to figure out how to put a better story in your head. Understand that we all know how the story ends here. We know that God wins. We know how this whole thing ends. Yes, we all are going to die. It's 100%. It happens. It's 100%. We all are going to die at some point in time today. Can we prolong that or push that back? Yeah, but it's not going to be through wearing masks and rubber gloves, because wearing masks and rubber gloves and staying in your house and being afraid to go out is not living your life. It's just getting ready to die is all it is. It's prematurely dying in a place that you don't want to be. So here's what I tell my patients and my doctors. You've got to find your why. Why are you here on this planet? What did God put you here for? Are you here to lock yourself up and watch Netflix for the rest of your life? Or are you here to live and be a part of your family's life, to love on them and be around them, and to be able to watch them grow up and to be able to hug them and be with them and take care of them? Or are you here to be able to impact through ministry? Are you here on this planet to be able to impact people through health? Or are you here to be able to just help people clean gutters? I don't care what you do, but whatever you're put here for, there's a reason why you're here. And you need to start to search for what that is. Mindset is everything. Stress is big in this. Stress is gigantic. And so one of the things, number one, is that we are the only mammals that can think ourselves sick. Let me say that again. We are the only mammals out there that can think ourselves sick. So zebras that are going to get attacked by everything in the wild, they can't even make themselves sick. They don't stress out about it. There's no such thing as stress. We're the only mammals that can think ourselves sick. So number two, it's not about the stress that you have in your life. It's about your reaction to the stress in your life. Okay? I'll say that again. It's not about the stress in your life. It's about your response or your reaction to it. So you've seen people that have a great faith in God. And even when things go bad, they know that there's something else. There's another pathway for God to take them on. And if you have that mindset, it is way different than constantly beating yourself down. Two people can be exposed to the same exact stress and have two complete different opposite responses, even chemically from the inside of your body, biochemically. So years ago, I've done a radio show for the last 20 years on various radio stations, gospel station, R&B station, Christian talk radio, sports station. I've done it all. But what's funny about it is the first station I ever did is they had these CDs. So if any kids are watching, parents, explain to your kids what CDs are. Okay, so they had these CDs, and what they did is it was, at the time you couldn't really put voice on the CDs. It was pretty new technology. This is like 18 years ago. And they'd put the disc in, and the guy would hit the button. He says, okay, don't mess up. He's like, don't mess up. You just got to speak for an hour and don't mess up, because that disc is what we're putting on the radio. And I had no problem with it, because for me, when they push the button, I love that. And I took my wife there one time, or I was explaining it to her, I think one time. And I said, yeah, they just push this button. You have to talk. And she's like, she started getting anxiety about that. She goes, oh my gosh, what if I mess up? What if I do this? What if I do this? And not that she has a bad thought process. It's just that stress affects her different than it would affect me. And we all have those stressors in our life. We have those people in our life. And so one of the things you can do with stress management is what we call peace management. And so I want you guys to write that down, peace management. Peace management is creating a plan for your life. See, the thing is if you just let the world come to you, things are going to come at you, and you're going to have to constantly keep dealing with stuff. But if you can plan your life better, the more you plan your life, the less stress you're going to have. I talked at a seminar this weekend down in Columbia, and I talked about how money. I had a money advisor, a financial guy that came into me, must have been about 16 or 17 years ago. And he said to my wife and I, he said, listen, he goes, if you don't tell your money where to go, it'll find a way in somebody else's pocket. Okay. He said, basically, he goes, if you don't point your money to your tax savings, to your investments, to your vacation toy fund, all this kind of stuff. He says, if you don't point your money to where you want to use it, he said, listen, he goes, it will find a way into somebody else's pocket. And it's so true, is that I've been through phases of my life where we are very good about taking and pointing money where it's supposed to go. And we've been through phases where we're just like, let's just see what goes on. And when you see what goes on, there's always somebody with their hand in your pocket. It's the same thing with your time, is that if you don't tell your time what to do, before you know it, Monday's over, or it's 7:00 on a Monday night. And you're like, man, what happened to the day? And did I really accomplish anything? So every night before I go to bed, and every week before I go into my week, I have a war plan. I have a calendar, and I have a war plan, and I look at, this is what's going to happen tomorrow. This is how I can do the things that God created me for, so I can make a bigger impact on this world. And that creates more peace in your life if you can start to point things in the direction, start to come, and we call it a war plan, because it's war that we're up against, and we have to plan for the things that are going to be out there. So nutrition. Sugar is the key for cancer. So with nutrition, we have a whole week dedicated to nutrition. Michaela and I are going to go in depth more on that week with nutrition. But sugar is the key for cancer. See, the thing is that if If doctors tell you when you're in the hospital diagnosed with cancer, you can eat the hospital food. I still remember sitting in Chuck's hospital room and just diagnosed with cancer, 4 brain tumors in his head, multiple myeloma throughout his body. And the food, the tray that they brought in was the most disgusting sugar-laden food that you possibly could ever imagine. Not just because it was hospital food. I'm like, what in the heck are you guys thinking? Like, why would you give this guy this sugar knowing that and they're like, no, sugar doesn't cause anything. Well, if they try to tell you that sugar does not cause, then ask them this question. Why is it? I just had a patient that just had this done today. This is not her scan. This is somebody else. But she had the scan done today. She goes, they did a scan where they made me drink this liquid. And you know what the liquid had in it? It had sugar, or they didn't drink it. She actually they injected it into her. You know what the liquid had in it? It had sugar. You know why? Because then it will light up with dyes in the areas of the body where the cancer's dividing. If the cancer's active and the cancer's actively dividing, it'll actually show up in those areas because cancer loves sugar. Cancer loves sugar. Cancer loves sugar. And so it will keep dividing. And because it's dividing so quickly, it will actually draw more sugar to the area. And that's why they do these scans this way. So if they tell you it doesn't matter what you eat, you have cancer, you need chemo and radiation, say, well, then why do you use sugar in your detectors? Because cancer cells love sugar. That's why. The other thing you have to watch, so work on eliminating your sugars, number 1. Number 2, you've got to work on your fats. We used to call it bad fats and good fats. There's actually really no such thing as bad fats. There are such things as damaged fats, though. And it's more in the processing of it because, and you can almost, instead of calling it damaged fats, call it manipulated fats is what you can call it. Manipulated fats are things like corn oil, canola oil, soy oil, safflower. These things are all oils that are manipulated and made into frankenfood, something that's not even really supposed to be in the body. It's more of a lubricant for machines than it is for your body. Great fats are things like grass-fed beef, free-range chicken, things that are properly resourced, oils that are properly resourced, things like grapeseed oil, avocado oil. There's even some olive oils. There's coconut oil. There's oils that are good, but it's even in the processing you can damage those fats too. So you've got to be very aware of that along the way. Now, here's what damaged fats do. On the cell walls, you can actually see this is a cell wall here, and you can see the heads and the tails down here and then tails to head. It's what's called a lipid bilayer, basically is what it is. And this is there so that way the body can actually, through the cells can actually transport bad stuff out of the cell, and it can transport good things, nutrients into the cell. When you eat a lot of damaged fats, what it does is it damages the cell wall, and it actually closes down the protein channels. It closes down the ability for the garbage to get out, and it affects the ability for the good stuff to get in. And so damaged fats is a big way of damaging the cell walls and causing issues or problems inside the body, especially within the cells. So commercial meats versus pasture-raised meats. So it's not just about the meats, it's about what the meat eats, okay? So with commercial meats, they're injected with steroids, antibiotics, they're fed grains, they're fed corn, they're fed candy. Hershey donated a bunch of their old candy to farmers to fatten up the cows. And they don't even take the wrappers off. What they do is with the wrappers and the candies and the Skittles and everything, they just throw it out there for them to eat as well. And that, got to understand, it's I'm going to talk about this in a second too, bioaccumulation. It's not just even about what the cow eats or the chicken eats. It's about what was that exposed to before that. And so that affects it. And so it's an investment. And so some people will say, and I've heard this about chickens too, that when chickens go to slaughter, they need to be at a certain weight. If they're too high, they get less money. If they're too low, they get less money. So what they do is that within the 24 to 48 hours before they take them to slaughter, what they do is they put arsenic or strychnine in their bodies to affect the weight very quickly to either lower it or to raise it. And what that does is that arsenic and strychnine is still in the meat when you eat it. And so it's an investment. So basically people will say to us, yeah, but pasture-raised meat, it's too expensive. And I agree, it might cost more, but it's more valuable to you because it will save you heart disease, cancer, diabetes later on down the road. So this week's challenge for you with meats is really start to remove the damaged fats and really switch your meats. Try to get rid of the processed meats. Processed meats have damaged stuff, and try to get this meat switched over to something that's a little bit less processed. Now, if you need help with that, we're going to have a whole class on this. Also, your book that you should have been given if you're a patient here, Align Your Health book, that's also there as well. It's all the stuff, the good meats, bad meats, that stuff's in there. Contact Michaela if you have questions about that. See her in the office the next time you're in. If you're not a patient here, you can still contact Michaela through this. You can also contact the office as well along the way as well too. So once we start to remove the damaged meats, then we also need to start to minimize our toxins along the way. So we live in a massively toxic world right now. There's toxins everywhere. And if you guys want to, I'll give you guys a couple seconds while I drink my water. Put in the comments section down here, in what ways are we being exposed to toxins in our world right now? I'll wait a couple seconds before I give you some answers. So it's everywhere, and it's in everything. It's in everywhere. It's in our medications. It's in the vaccinations. It's in the environment. It's in the pollution. It's in the water. There's chemicals in our cleaning supplies. There's chemicals in our makeup. There's not our makeup. I don't wear makeup. And most people's makeup, women's makeup, or I guess not all women, maybe some men. Okay, so sorry. So what happens is there's toxins everywhere, and so you need to be aware of where they're at. There's toxins in our food. One of the things that we talk about constantly is that the buzzword right now is that it's all about the gluten. Like everybody's gluten intolerant these days. As they're diving in a little bit deeper on this, though, they're finding out that it's not even really necessarily about the gluten as much as it is about the glyphosate, the chemicals that they're spraying onto our crops. That's where we're getting damage from. These chemicals are dangerous. They're toxic. They cause cancer. They're not good for you. If you want to know where your toxins are in your world, great website. Michaela will put this in the comments. EWG.org. EWG.org. Simple. You can ask it on that website. There's makeup. There's cleaning supplies. There's all kinds of stuff. So we're constantly in our house, constantly trying to eliminate chemicals and toxins as much as we possibly can. And the more exposure that you have these things, the more toxic load that you have. I was telling this, I don't know if I want to get into this right now. I'll get into it more when we do the toxicity one. But I talking to some lady today about toxicities, and you have buckets. And some people have their cells are big buckets, and some people's cells are little buckets. And you can line up 100 kids, give them all the same exact vaccination, and one kid or 30 of the kids might become autistic or have some kind of learning disability because of the vaccine, and the other 70 might seemingly have no problems, but probably half of them are going to have problems with allergies or asthma or some other kind of digestive issue. Why? Because they're chemicals. Now, why don't all the kids have responses? Well, it's because of tolerance. It's because of the toxic load. It's because of the body's ability to be able to adapt. And so some people's cells are smaller, and if you get toxic overload, it will start to express symptoms faster. If they're bigger buckets, then they don't express the symptoms as fast. So that's the way that this thing happens is that there's toxins everywhere, and everybody responds differently to them. Toxin accumulation, I think that's supposed to say toxic accumulation. With toxic accumulation, what happens is people ask about the mercury in the fish. Well, it's in the waters. It enters the fish. It's everywhere. And so what happens is, again, like I said before, it's about what did the animal eat that you ate more than anything else. You got to start thinking about the bioaccumulation of these things. If cows are being fed candy and they're being fed even corn and grains that have been sprayed with glyphosate, now all of a sudden that toxic accumulation starts to become more and more concentrated as you go further up the food chain. And so we've got to be aware of where things are being raised, what they're being given, what kind of chemicals are being put into these things along the way. That's why you're always trying to find the freshest things that you possibly can when it comes to food. Man, I can't even tell you how much toxicities come in these things. It's scary. I know some of you guys out there might be like, hey, we've eradicated all the sicknesses and diseases of the world because of this. These things have been one of the greatest things in medical. I'd be willing to sit down and show with you. Things do not come without consequences. Ever wonder why we have the highest toxic environment, why we have more cancer, more heart disease, more diabetes? Why do we have such a high rate of COVID cases compared to some of the other countries? This is why. If we want to find out why we have so many autoimmune diseases right now in our world, we need to start to look at the thing that doctors and medical, AMA, American Medical Association, insurance companies, pharmaceutical industries, all these people have been trying to sell us for the last 40, 50 years. These things are enemy number one when it comes to toxic accumulation in the body. And we are being exposed to it now. When we were kids, I only got like 6 or 7 shots, 6 or 7 vaccinations. These days, kids will be exposed to at least 72 doses by the age of 13, and sometimes even more. Now, not 72 shots. Now they're putting 1, 3, 5 doses in different shots, which even causes that much more of a toxic accumulation along the way then too. And so one of the things I want you guys to realize with this vaccine, they actually did this, and this is a side note. People that had the flu shot had a 36% increase in the chance of getting corona, COVID, okay? So think about that. They're trying to sell the twindemic, they're trying to sell the don't get the flu and corona because then you're in trouble. That's what they're trying to sell. So they're trying to push these flu shots. Do you ever think about why they're free, or why are they giving you $5 and $10 gift cards at CVS and Walgreens? Do you ever think about why are they giving these things away? Well, if there's government subsidy, that's why. And if there's government subsidy, you usually have to, if the government has to push things to be sold, that's usually a problem. If the government has to push for more corn to be grown and all this kind of stuff, or government has to push for certain things, that typically means a free market. It typically means that people don't want it in reality. And so we've got to be aware of these things along the way. If you have questions about flu shots, direct message me. I've taught classes on this all over the country. I'd be happy to teach more if you want to sit down one-on-one. I teach classes on this stuff all the time. Maybe on the backside of this, we'll even teach a whole class on vaccinations so you can get a chance to have a better understanding. Switching gears, oxygen, exercise. We need to move on a daily basis all the way. We need to move our bodies all day, every day. We were not built to sit at computers. We were not built to sit with our shoulders scrunched forward and our heads down looking at a computer or at a phone screen. That's not how we were built. So right now, where you're sitting at your computer, on your phone, I don't care where you're at, unless you're driving, don't do this. Put your shoulders back, put your head up, and what I want you to do is take a huge deep breath in through your nose, all the way in, suck it all the way in, expand your lungs, and then hold it for a second and then blow it out slowly through your mouth. And that is a massive way that we can detox the body too, is through breathing. And when you get oxygen driving into the body, oxygen coming to the body, remember, cancer cells cannot survive in an oxygenated body. So we need oxygen coming to the body. You need to do exercising that you breathe heavily. You want to make sure that you're doing it. So some people come in and say, well, I walk. I'm like, okay, do you breathe heavy? No. Okay, let's find times where you breathe heavy and walk faster in some instances. That's why one of my good friends, Fred Roberto, he built this, him and his wife, they built this Max T3 program, which it's everywhere right now. It's on YouTube. You can buy it from us. We can get you a link in our store to this if you guys need to as well. Max T3, it's literally 12 minutes exercise. And you can do it 3 days a week. You can do it every day of the week. It doesn't matter. But what happens is when you start to get what we call almost like a Tabata, you guys have heard of exercise or high intensity HIIT workouts. Essentially what happens is classic cardio there on the left, you have an hour of exercise. And then what happens is the afterburn is very short and very slow and goes downhill right away. With metabolic training or Max T3 on the right-hand side, what happens is in 12 minutes you exercise, but that level of the afterburn lasts for a long time, not just burning fat, but giving energy to your body for a very long time afterwards. And so it changes hormones, it balances hormones, cells get healthier, more oxygen to your body. It's a great detox method. This stuff is crucial. Core chiropractic. If you haven't seen a chiropractor, if you hopefully, obviously, if you're listening to this, you already come to us. If you don't, there's a great opportunity next Monday. We're doing a Friends and Family Day, a Patient Appreciation Day next Monday, November 2nd. We have 10 spots exactly. There's 5 in the morning, 5 in the afternoon. If I could turn around, we have a board out here already that we're going to start laying up names on there. Exams, consultation, x-rays, they typically cost anywhere between $40, $50, $60 up to $100, $200. This day, there's going to be no charge. I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to make a donation in space of it. What I'm going to do is actually you're going to come in and we'll do a full checkup to see if I can help you out. This is a perfect opportunity. If you've done everything right, if you're saying, yep, I eat right, exercise. In fact, I've had people that come to us that have cancer that say, you know what, I already know how to eat. I already know how to exercise. I'm already doing stuff where I'm praying. I'm getting time of meditation. Am I missing anything? And I'm like, this is the missing key ingredient. Chiropractic is the missing key ingredient. Why? Have you guys ever heard of anybody that smokes, drinks, does everything wrong, and they're still living when they're 95 years old? We all have that person in our family. We also know people that do everything seemingly right. They eat right, they exercise, do everything right, and they're still they still get cancer at 37 years old. Well, so how in the heck does that happen? And so the key component to all this stuff is the adaptability factor, okay? So I love that word, and this is something you need to write down, adaptability factor. Adaptability factor is how well can your body adapt to its environment. If this plant that's behind me over here, if it can't adapt and turn its leaves towards the sun when it's turned away from it, it's going to die. If your body cannot adapt, so that guy that smokes and drinks and does everything wrong, I have a patient that had her great grandpa was that guy, smoked for 95 years. He was 95 years old. He started smoking when he was 15, so 80 years of smoking. And before he died, they did a scan of his lungs to find out how much cancer he had in his lungs. Guess what they found? They found 0 cancer cells in his lungs. And so you start to kind of shake your head and start to think, well, how in the world, why did this happen? Well, it comes down to his body, as he was taking those chemicals and those toxins in, his body was able to adapt. Remember how I said the buckets before? His body was able to bail itself out faster. The key component to that is making sure that your body is adaptable from the inside. And the nerve system is crucial for that. The nerve system is everything when it comes to the adaptability factor, when it comes down to your body. It's early in detection. What happens is that your brain sends messages down to your body to tell your body how to work. Then your body, if it has any kind of problems or issues in it, will then send messages back up to the brain and tell your brain, this is what's going on in my body. And if it finds cancer cells or the heart's struggling, there's high blood pressure, there's arteries that need repair, it will tell the brain, and the brain will recruit every system it needs to adapt and to be able to try to want to live. Our bodies, our innate intelligence in our bodies want to live. And that plant wants to live. It has an innate intelligence too. It wants to live. Just like the weeds in your driveway, they want to live. They keep finding a way to come up through that crack. Inside your body, you have that adaptability factor too. But the thing that starts to shut down the adaptability factor is if the communication's shut down. Your brain knows how to do everything, but if there's communication shut down, that becomes a bigger issue. There's 2 systems. The nerve system balances these systems. There's the sympathetic nerve system and there's the parasympathetic nerve system. The sympathetic nerve system is your fight or flight response. That's what most of us these days, when we're stressed constantly, it's this fight or flight, our fight or flight, fight or flight, fight or flight. The parasympathetic nerve system actually controls basic functions like rest and digest, repair, sleep. This is when this happens during sleep. Now, most people are stuck in the stress and the sympathetic, and it's not balanced the way that it's supposed to be. And when we're stuck in this stress aspect of emotional, physical, and chemical stress, then what happens is the body's not able to start to balance out, and it starts to become have excess stress on the inside and causes more issues. And so really typically the part of the bodies that have the parasympathetics are the top where the neck is and the lower part of the back. And the middle back is the sympathetic sections. And so really what you're looking for is, how do I make sure that these things are balanced and adapting and doing exactly what they're supposed to do? That's why I think it's so important. If you're having aches and pains, sickness and disease, if you have cancer, diabetes, heart disease, Again, remember, you didn't get diabetes, cancer, heart disease, and then become sick. You were sick and you got those things after the fact. Understand that we look for the core source of how to change your environment. It starts with this nerve system. So if you haven't had your nerve system evaluated, and patients, if you're out there right now, if you know somebody that needs to be on this list of 10 people for next Monday, that this is a great opportunity for them, that this is finally going to maybe push them over the top, tag them in the comments below here. Or when this is over, let's send a link to these people so we can start to help them. But next Monday, we want to help 10 people on November 2nd. There is absolutely no, I'm actually footing the bill for the charge for the cost for the exam, the x-rays, and the consultation that we need to do. It's next week, next November 2nd. So if you know somebody that needs that, let us know right away. Are you deficient? The thing is, and we talked about this last week, I'm going to talk about this again when we go through nutrition in a couple weeks, is that are you deficient? Is your body deficient, and is it getting the foods that it needs and how it needs to get it? Are you getting the foods that you're supposed to get? We found that our soils are depleted. We found that there's chemicals in things. And so even if you eat a healthy balance of food these days, there is still a chance that you could be deficient in the nutrients that you need for your body to heal from the inside. I have a whole wall of nutrients over here and a whole table full of nutraceuticals or vitamins, whatever you want to call them. And they're all highest quality. And actually, you can reason why every single one of them would be good for your body. But here's what I want you guys to understand, though, is that you need to understand that if your body's deficient in certain things, then that's when you need to have a supplement to help your body get back up to speed. So I don't give somebody vitamin D3 supplement. We talked about vitamin D3 and vitamin C last week. I don't give them those things because they're sick. See, that would be treating a symptom. That's not what we do here in the office. So where we always go to what can we do to help support the body's ability to heal itself? So when I adjust your spine, I want to put your body in the best position to be able to heal itself. When I recommend to somebody to take a vitamin D3 or a vitamin C, it's because their bodies are saying that they're deficient in these things and that they need a supplement to help support the systems as it goes through it. So here's some of the things. Remember I talked about the cell walls before and how the cell walls are damaged? This is all about cell support. And so that's supposed to say curcumin, sorry, left the N off that one at the top there. Now, it may help eliminate cancer cells without harm to healthy cells. Curcumin is actually an active compound in turmeric, and it's an orange spice that's commonly used in Indian food. Now, research shows that this is beneficial in a variety of uses, especially for inflammation, joint health, and even more. But it's supposed to be super helpful in helping people that are going through chemotherapy and radiation treatments. It's supposed to actually be super helpful from that standpoint. So curcumin is a great nutrient when it comes to that. Another one is cruciferous vegetables, things that are that have basically these compounds inside of it. It's called DIM. It's what it's in. One of our supplements is a DIM supplement. It actually helps regulate hormones for breast and prostate cancers, and it actually helps with regulation of these things. Now, if you could eat tons of cruciferous vegetables like Brussels sprouts and cabbage and cauliflower and broccoli and leafy greens and stuff like that, these are cruciferous vegetables. But the reality is there's a good chance that we're probably not hitting these things as much as we need to on a regular basis. So if you're at risk for cancer and you're trying to get your body healthy, these are some of the things that I would actually start making sure you put in your body. Garlic is huge. It's been used for thousands and thousands of years. It may help reduce the risk of certain cancers. Research shows that's on the CDC and the NIH website. Garlic's actually supposed to be a great supplement when it comes to those things. Probiotics. They're naturally occurring in fermented foods. Fermented foods are like pickles and sauerkraut and pickled onions and stuff like that. You can ferment foods and it'll actually help with the amount of bacteria. What probiotics is bacteria. Now, what happens to the majority of us, though, we've been exposed to so many antibiotics over the course of our lifetime, and not just antibiotics, but antibiotics are also in our foods that we're eating as well. So they start to destroy the gut balance. Probiotics will help keep your body back and to regulate the proper amount of good bacteria that's inside the gut. It'll actually help you to be able to heal. So if you can get these foods in a natural setting, then go for it. If you feel like you need some help, some support with it, we have the cell support bundle here. And the cell support bundle has curcumin, our C3 product, our Biodim, our garlic and parsley oil blend, and then the probiotic 50B. The 50B actually helps. We have a vitamin D3 that has probiotics. The 50B actually gets further down through the digestive system, actually further down the gut, which is super helpful in making sure that the immune system of the body. This stuff, these supplements, these 4 supplements right here are brilliant for repairing cell walls and getting the cells to start to breathe again and start to get rid of the toxicities from the inside. And so if you want the support the cell support bundle, a couple things that you can do is Michaela's going to put the link in there, how to get to the store underneath in the YouTube channel and also Facebook channel. You can click on that. If you need it directly from us, you can actually just text us. The number for the office is 704-540. I think I have a slide for that actually. There it is. Text 704-540-0055. Text that number and text the word cell if you want to know more about the cell support bundle or want to get that. Also, since we're halfway through, I'm almost finished. Okay, you're almost there. You almost made it. We're almost halfway through. We're 3 classes into the Masterclass. We are going to do a midway prize today. And so to put your name in the drawing for the midway prize, we're going to give away a probiotics, the 50B. So if you want that, just text the number above, 704-540-0055. Text the word 50B, 50B. When you text that, we'll put your name in the drawing, and what we'll do is we'll do a drawing tomorrow for who won the 50B. So we'll get, even if you're listening to this on recording, you might want to send the text in along the way as well. So last couple pieces here, warrior patients. We're asking you guys, if you're on this, if you made it through the 3rd class here, if you're a warrior patient for us, which if you're listening still now, and I know some of you guys still are listening right now, we had a lot of views last week. We had over 1,100 views last week on the video from last week, and it just keeps growing, which is great. And so I want this one to hit. This would be great if it's hit 2,000 people to reach out there. People need to start hearing the truth in different ways and start understanding where real health comes from, which is inside. If you're a warrior patient, please share this video with somebody. If you share this video with somebody or you tag a friend in the comments with this, we're going to put more tickets in for the drawing. Some of you guys said it earlier. It's $100 and two $50 gift certificates for you to be able to buy supplements in our office. And we're going to do a drawing at the end of the 6th class. So if that's you, if you want to make sure that you guys, if you guys want to make sure that you guys get in that, but you also have people, I don't want you to do it just because you're trying to win something. I want you to do it because you really care about people. You know, we got to start taking responsibility for other people right now. There's a lot of people that are hurting. And in fact, I know a couple people personally that committed suicide during this COVID thing. I don't know if you guys know, the suicide rate is growing faster than the COVID death numbers. And it's depression's massive right now. People are hurting. People are sick. People are reaching out. And so sometimes they just need to get on a right pathway. And if they're eating better foods, if they're exercising, if they're getting adjusted, if they're taking care of themselves. So if you know somebody that you haven't reached out to in a long time, maybe you send them this video. Maybe it's just the exact thing that they need. Maybe they don't even watch it. I don't know. But your job is not to convince them. Your job is just to tell them and show them. And if you could just, it's as easy as the touch of your fingers just to share this information with somebody. All you got to do is tag somebody on here. If you don't know how to tag somebody, just talk to somebody in the office, text us, and we'll send you a link for the YouTube video, and we'll get you a chance to help you out along the way then too. Coming up next week, strengthen your nerve system. I'm going to go into massively in depth about the nerve system. You're not going to want to miss it. It's my favorite topic. If you want to know the major key that I have when it comes to health and healing, it's this next week, the class on nerve system. You do not want to miss. Invite friends, invite family. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have a good time. So if you guys have any questions whatsoever, feel free to ask us. And let us know, man. We're here for you guys. We love you. If you're getting care here in the office and you've been getting care here and you still have questions, we're here to help you. We'll find the way. We'll find a way. So make sure that you guys are just reaching out to people and helping them. But if you guys need help personally too, we're here for you guys. I love you guys. Have a great Monday. If you guys watch this on a different day, fine too. But just let us know if you guys have any questions along the way. Appreciate you guys.